I saw an opportunity to print, CBD and THC and be able to control the dosage so that there's no guessing game.
Hey, welcome back to the All In Podcast. What's shaking? This is Rick Jordan. Today, I'm here with my guest, Chris Kanik. I think I pronounced CEO, founder of Smart Cup, sustainably driven technology that I'm really pumped to talk about today. And Chris even oversees Smart Cup's 23,000 square foot manufacturing and R&D facility in Mission Viejo, California. And this is the really cool part because I'm specifically calling out the 23,000 square feet because this dude is first generation born of immigrant parents. Chris, welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Wow, that was like a really daunting intro. It was like 23,000 square feet.
Well, that's what I caught in your bio, because it's the juxtaposition of, where you came from. And that's what really intrigues me.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm actually in my office and I started from my kitchen table, and when I moved into the 23,000 square foot building, I had this fancy desk in what I picked as my office, and it just didn't feel right. And so I went home and I told my wife, "You're getting a new kitchen table." And I actually operate out of my kitchen table in my office.
Nice.
This is my kitchen table right here.
That's so cool. So yeah, it was something that you were kind of like emotionally tied to then, it sounds like, right? Like calm and just familiar. Is that what you brought it into your office? That's pretty fun.
Because for about, I would say 5, 6, almost 7 years, I was a one-man show.
Yeah.
Just operating out of my kitchen and from my kitchen table, running everything, planning, how things were going to go. But now I've got a great staff and I'm learning how to delegate and they share in my passion and I rely on them. And it's just me and my kitchen table right here.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
So what were you doing? I mean, Smart Cups, right? That's your gig. What exactly is that?
Yeah. So Smart Cups is a sustainability driven technology company. What we have that nobody else on the planet can do is print active and flavor materials on the surface of substrates. Now, it's meant to be a drug delivery system for patients who have trouble swallowing. That was the initial intent. But I commercialized it in the beverage industry first, lowest hanging fruit, to go through FDA hurdles, monographs, clinical studies, all that good stuff. And so we rolled out in beverages and realized that the real benefit was environmental, because the technology allows for a reduction of storage and transportation requirements, which will result in an overall reduction of carbon emissions. So, for example, the Coca-Cola truck, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that name, but let's say the transportation
like radio
truck,
or whatever, we can say anything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I don't want to cease and desist from a bunch of polar bears. So, so the transportation truck that once could only deliver 96,000 12-ounce cans will now be able to deliver 1.2 million units of the same product using Smart Cups technology. And so that's the benefit. So it's essentially, the cup looks empty. Print the actual beverage inside of the cup. The cups are stackable. You add water or any liquid to the cup, and in a couple seconds, it turns into that product. And so, yeah, we sell a line of energy drinks. We just rolled out with a line of family-friendly vitamin C, vitamin D, calcium cups, non-caffeinated. And we have plans on doing alcoholic beverages, coffee, teas, industrial materials. There's OTC products, personal hygiene products like mouthwash, vitamins, antibiotics, vaccinations. There's a water purification system that I've been playing with for a period of time. So if you can imagine, there's a disaster situation, let's say Puerto Rico, or you need clean water somewhere like in Flint, Michigan, or you got to send something to Africa.
You had to pull up Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, why talk about all over the place when we could just talk about Michigan, right?
Yeah, just call it what it is.
Yeah. So instead of sending a case of, let's say, 24 bottles of water over there, you could send that same case size with 500 to 1,000 cups, ship it over. They could use their existing water supply, pour it in the cup, and now have potable water. So that's the benefit. That's the bigger picture play for what my vision is, really getting more resources out to the world without having to use so many resources. So, preliminary data, when you talk about being eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, there's always a knee-jerk visceral reaction. Everybody likes to use sustainability as a buzzword right now, and all these companies are trying to attach themselves to it. But who's really sustainable? How much do we really understand about sustainability, right? And so
it's just like calling something organic these days, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And unfortunately, and this is no knock on anybody, but unfortunately, the people that are most passionate about the concept of sustainability and being environmentally friendly get the majority of their scientific facts from memes and fake Facebook ads. So it's not much of a fruitful conversation,
I saw this thing on the Instagram the other day.
Yeah, exactly. I saw, a monkey smoking a cigarette and choking a turtle with some plastic. So, but there's all this data around plastics and emissions, but very little data around what liquid transportation does to our environment. And so we've partnered with a number of prestigious research universities and their environmental departments, and to really study what, number one, liquid transportation does to our environment, and what the elimination of liquid transportation does to our environment. Water, we over the last couple decades, we've spent so much energy and financial resources in developing infrastructures to supply water. Why do we continue to ship it? It doesn't really make sense, so.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, I think of like Fiji, right? And I love Fiji water,
exactly.
And it comes from obviously the Fiji Islands. But I was even looking at things to where, at one point when I was looking at all the environmental whatevers, those are PET bottles that they ship in. And then, of course, they go on these huge cargo crates and we're shipping water. But then once PET gets above a certain temperature, was it 90 degrees or something like that? Which it is. I mean, it's smoking there in the middle of the ocean for the most part in these big, ginormous metal like incubator cargo shipping things where we're shipping literal water. And then it gets here and I drink. I'm like, God, I love this stuff. And it's like, what the heck am I putting into my body too? Because this water was literally just cooking itself in the bottle, traveling across the ocean.
Exactly. I mean, it's just the concept of one of the knocks that we get as Smart Cups is, I had a decision to make. We needed to go out to market, have a proof of concept. When I started this, we could only make about 50 to 100 cups at a time, right? And so I said, we gotta be able to make a couple thousand of these things to have an actual business and commercialize this thing. And so built the initial manufacturing equipment from scratch. And so now we have this business, and my go-to-market strategy was all around, I can't get into international distribution. I can't go retail because I'll fall flat on my face and then, sour relationships and whatnot. But let's just go out to the market. Let's see what the market demands. And so I had a decision. We can print on pretty much any surface, right? Paper, plastic, aluminum.
When you say print, are you talking flavor? Is that really what you're talking about?
So what we have is we have a proprietary polymer that creates, and it's plant-based, that creates a shell around the ingredients. And then it protects the ingredients from the ambient environment. And when water comes, it's an amphiphilic polymer. So when it comes in contact with a liquid, water, it activates, releasing the ingredients. And there's an effervescent component that creates this self-stirring mechanism. And so you have that beverage or that product instantly. And so that's really the science, so we can do that we've done that with caffeine. So I rolled out with an energy drink, not because I necessarily love energy drinks. And at the end of the day, I think energy drinks will probably be our minimal viable product. But I wanted to showcase the functionality and the versatility of the technology. Hey, I can print caffeine. amino acids, B vitamins, flavor material, and the sweetener right inside of a cup. And so in a package like this, so actually let me go over here. I always tell people, I go, when they're trying to wrap their heads around something that's never existed before, a technology, I go, would you rather carry this or would you rather carry 6 cases of Red Bull or Monster? So this is the equivalent to 6 cases of Red Bull.
Huh.
So that's really the benefit here.
That's mind blowing, man. It's I mean, I think of a couple different things, because we've got listeners of all different backgrounds, and I'm thinking like to compare this, it's almost like a 3D printer for drinks. I realize that I'm really dumbing it down, and I'm not trying to, not because the technology is freaking amazing, but you're doing, instead of like a plastic or something like that, you're literally doing all the ingredients that go into any kind of a drink in sort of something of that concept, right?
And not just drinks, any consumable, so
wow.
Disinfectant.
This is like some Star Trek stuff, man. Like
exactly.
like literal replicator stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So when I started this, and we came to market, I took for granted this cool novelty aspect, right? And I was like, hey, it's an empty cup. It's like David Blaine. One of the funniest stories, I was after an NBA game, I showed a couple players and they were like, oh shit, that's some straight up David Blaine bullshit, and and I thought that was really interesting. So we really took marketing. I didn't really expect the initial feedback that we got. And so to go back to what we were talking about before, I had a decision to make. Paper, normal plastic, which is a lot cheaper than anything else, or a bioplastic. And so I was really wanted to stick to that sustainability concept. And I said, okay, let's go with bioplastic, even though it's more expensive. Let's go because I want people to really see what's going on inside the cup. The effervescing.
That's the beauty of it, yeah.
Water, And so when people on social media see this clear cup, they go, oh, that's stupid, or you're ruining the environment, or you're ruining the oceans. And they're not looking at the bigger picture. It's like, no, guys, I'm actually on your side and you guys are fighting with me. You're actually, if you want to really argue with somebody, go argue with Coke and Pepsi, because inside of every aluminum can is a plastic bag. so
that's sick.
But it's true.
Yeah,
but it's true.
No joke. Yep.
And so, really trying to like we have a double-edged monster that we have to overcome with this. It's a technology that's never existed, like you said. Only previously you've ever seen something like this on Star Trek, The Jetsons, or Back to the Future, right? And under a brand with no footprint. So you have to build that confidence. You have to build that consumer awareness. And we've done a pretty good job. So, we came out in late 2017, December 11, 2017, we actually launched and started selling product. And then month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, we're just experiencing exponential growth. And we have a pretty rich pipeline of innovative products that are going to come to market. My ultimate goal is to have an alcoholic product to market by the end of 2021, early 2022. So a cup, you just add water, it's your margarita. Add water, boom, it's your glass of wine. So we can actually print the alcohol inside of the cup. And so with that said, I had to go get my distillery permit. And I didn't fit any of the boxes. I didn't fit any of the boxes for the TTB. And so I really had to educate and successfully was able to amend legislation in 2 states, allowing me to manufacture this product and start doing the R&D. Not necessarily, not solely because I want to make an instant margarita drink, but because ethanol is a major component to a lot of OTC products, personal hygiene products, pharmaceuticals, prescription products, mouthwash, a mouthwash, for example, or cough syrup. Ethanol is alcohol is a key component to that. And so by having our distillery permit, we're able to venture off into all those applications. When COVID hit us, and the shelter in place hit us. I had a meeting with our council and my COO, and we're sitting down, and they said, we're going to have to furlough people. We're going to have to, lay people off and this and that. And I said, under my fucking body,
Yeah,
my
right
dead
on.
body,
Yep.
I'm like, we got to figure out a way to stay in business and to grow. And so I'm at a Trader Joe's. I'm looking at the greeter outside, putting hand sanitizer on everybody's hand. And I said, I can make that. And so in March, within 72 hours, we had FDA approval on our labels. I'm sure you've read all the horror stories of all these people putting toxic ingredients in their hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
But we did it the right way. We got FDA approval on our labels. And, we went into hand sanitizer production at a time that you couldn't find hand sanitizer anywhere. And so supported the Orange County Fire Authority, the police department, multiple municipalities, homeless shelters, hospitals. And then I did an interview, and they asked me, are you going to continue doing hand sanitizer? And I said, I don't know if I'll continue doing traditional hand sanitizer, but I'll tell you one thing, I can make a whole lot more printed hand sanitizer. And so that's opened up the door. So now we're, my dumb mouth open up the door for, printing hand sanitizer. Because really, what was the issue with hand sanitizer? It's bulky, takes off
it's a lot transportation of again. Yeah.
Transportation.
Yeah.
So now you can make a stackable hand sanitizer, and just add water. And now you have your 80% disinfectant, you're good to go. So that's an application that's around the corner that we're working on right now.
Man, that's incredible. You spent 25 years as a laboratory science researcher, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that where this came from? Because or did you watch Star Trek someday and be like, hey, I want to do that?
I have, it's always uncomfortable when I talk about my past and, what gets me here, but I look relatively young. And so when people say 25 years, it's like, wait, when did this? So I started working in a lab when I was 12. I started working at Stevens Institute of Technology. I was in the 7th grade. I took my first chemistry class when I was 10. And so I'm 12 years old, kind of a little over my head, learning HPLC machines. I studied the degradation of aspartame and diet sodas at room temperature.
Is that actually that interesting?
But when I was 10, when I was 10, teachers went up to my mom and said, he needs to get stimulated. I think we think that he's a good candidate for this program. And they gave me a course catalog and they said, here, pick a class. I could have picked fucking basket weaving.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn how to blow shit up. So I picked chemistry. that's the truth of the
story. Dude, my son, he was 13. He is 13 now, but he's learning the production side of this stuff, right? And I remember when he was like 6, he comes up to me like 6. He goes, "Dad, can we get some chemicals?" That was just the straight up question. Why? What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah. And so, that's always a. And it's funny. My 6-year-old, I have a 6-year-old right now, and he thinks I'm like Iron Man. He thinks I'm like Tony Stark. So, which is pretty cool. But so I started very early, and it didn't dawn on me until a couple months ago because somebody was introducing me, and somebody said I had 10 years of experience, and I was like, 10 years, and I started doing the math, and I go, holy shit, I'm 25 years in. That's like someone's like retirement. You get a pat on the back and you get a watch and you say, okay, go into the sunset. But I'm still fairly young. I'm only 37. And so, and then, at 14, I went to go do research at Rutgers, and 18, I worked on a aerospace project. And then at 19, I was at Cornell, and I said, I'm burnt out. Fuck this shit. I'm an American Chemical Society scholar, went everywhere, for free. And I said, you know what? I want to be a stand-up comic. So I was a stand-up comic in New York and for a number of years. And, I did all the improvs in the United States. I went overseas, did stand-up. And then I moved to California. My comedy career goes to shit. I moved to Southern California. I don't even know how to fucking drive. So I'm just
you're from New York. Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know how to drive. So I had to learn how to drive, and I just got burnt out on comedy. And then I'm working in corporate America. I'm working at a pharmaceutical company because I have to pay the bills, and I hated corporate America. And then one day at a Taco Tuesday, the waitress is not coming back and fast enough with a margarita, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, I have a glass of water, and I'm looking at my glass of water. I'm going, how awesome would it be if I just had some like powdered alcohol? I could just put it in here, and I went, why hasn't anyone done that? And so everybody, like, I was with a group of people and they're all like talking and everything. And then I just went into like Rain Man mode. I took a napkin, I started writing out a protocol. And the next day I took a bottle of Everclear, some maltodextrin, took my frying pan. I have no lab equipment at this point. I'm kind of a washed up stand-up comic with like, I'm at a fork in the road, and I blew up my kitchen, but
yes.
I was successful. Yeah, I was successful at making 3 different flavors of powdered alcohol. I partnered up with another inventor, and was able to get the funding, and been very blessed. And I hear all these horror stories about entrepreneurs, and I don't even like the term entrepreneur. Like, I never thought of myself as a guy who was like, yeah, I'm going to own my own business and this and that. I just wanted to do things that were interesting and fun and challenging. That's why I like stand-up so much, because it was challenging. Every night you go up and you have to read the room and understand what's going on. And if you're going down, you got to figure out how to come back up, and, new material. And it was some of the most stimulating work I've ever done. But, I've been very blessed. I hear all these horror stories of people who try to open up their businesses and they have funding issues, and, they operational issues, and they don't understand how to overcome certain things, or they get squashed. And, and then I read some stories where if you're an entrepreneur, you can't have a family. I've got 3 kids. I've got a beautiful wife. I'm just very blessed. And I've been very blessed with a, very supportive staff. And my COO is amazing. And just they share in my passion. And, it's just, we're going in a trajectory right now where my vision, almost 10 years ago is coming to fruition now, so.
I love that, man. Yeah, that's awesome. That's an incredible story too. I mean, stand-up comedy to washed up, non-driver.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, when people read about me, where they read, like, if they read about me, they think I'm some stuffy scientist, and it's not the case. I curse like a sailor. I live by this motto. It's like you work hard, you play hard kind of a thing. My office, I was telling Ryan before, my office is like, it looks like a comic book shop, because I just wanted it to be cooler than Gary V's, because I would see his videos on, so I got Biggie over here. Nice. I got Rocky over here. I've got all these toys over there, and
and your kitchen table.
And my kitchen table. Yeah.
That's fantastic. This is mind blowing to me, man. Because the tech just sounds incredible. And when you started talking about printing alcohol, my brain goes to, because I love Scotch, right? Absolutely. And there's such an art form that goes into that, So, and then I also think about, like the powdered energy drinks that exist right now too. How is this when you get into that market, how is this going to be better? I'm even talking from like a flavor perspective, because so much craft, not maybe the energy drink side, but the alcohol side, where these things are aged for 18 years, or whatnot. How do you compete with that? Or are you talking a different classification, like segments of customers?
Yeah. So for a guy who's been conditioned to drink Scotch, triple malt Scotch for 30 years, and that's his habit, and he likes to sit there and he likes to drink it, I'm never going to change his mind, right? Like, that's his bag.
But the margarita.
And the way, and not to take a page out of Big Tobacco here, but this really is a generational paradigm shift. Smart Cups fruit juices at this point are going to grow up, and they're going to drink Smart Cups electrolyte drinks. And they're going to grow up, and their first beer might be out of a Smart Cup, and their coffee is going to be out of a Smart Cup, and then when they get older, maybe their scotch of choice will be out of a smart cup, and so I think this is a generational shift. This is not a novelty. It just seems like, people knock it right now and they go, it's very easy when something's new and you go, that's not going to be around. Like when Facebook first came out, I was like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. You can't make friends in the real world. And now, boy, do I have pie in my face, right?
Because you're not the stuffy scientist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then, when smartphones came out, I was like, that's so fucking stupid. I only need a phone to now I can't even live without my phone and all the other functions. So I'm guilty of the same thing, but for this really is, so in order to get a product, you can mimic flavor components of what a traditional beverage. And so, it's bandwidth, opportunity, and just the business case and what products we're going to roll out with next. Obviously with our energy drink, we didn't have the real estate inside of our cups to put 30 grams of sugar. We're working with about 2 grams of surface area. So, we had to, so our disadvantage actually worked to our advantage because we're viewed as a healthier alternative to the more popular brand names of energy drinks out there. There's no sugar, very low calories, low carb. I think it's 1 carb and 5 calories, no sugar. And what you get is your caffeine boost, and you get your vitamins, and you get your amino acids. That's really what it is. And then for our kids kind of friendly line, sweetened with stevia, you get your vitamin C, your vitamin D, and your calcium, and they taste like Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. So, who doesn't want that?
Like my kid will drink 5 or 6 of them at a time. And so,
without the sugar.
Yeah. And without the sugar. And then, so to your question, how's this better than powders? With a powder product, you still need a vessel to put it in, and you still need a liquid, right? And so it's interesting when people come to me with that argument, because I say, well, what are you putting your powder in? And a lot of them are putting them in disposable bottles. And then the people who argue, well, how is this better than reusable bottles? And it's very interesting because we have these visceral knee-jerk reactions to things. And whoever did the marketing for reusable aluminum bottles is a genius, and I want them on my staff. They've convinced the world that this business that produces bottles is better for the environment. But nobody thinks about the resources that it takes to create those bottles. What's the full life cycle of that reusable canteen? I know people that have like 10, 20 of these things. Exactly.
Yep. Branded too.
Cycle?
Yeah.
Branded. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And so what's the life cycle of those? And so part of some of the research projects that we're involved with, some of these universities, they're looking and comparing at smart cups versus a reusable bottle. And so, when you toss your reusable bottle, and these companies that produce them, they're a business. They don't make money if you're not buying more bottles. So, we have to, I guess it's almost, we have to recondition our minds not to believe these things and have knee-jerk reactions to just information that we just take for granted.
Yeah, no joke. I'm even thinking of like parties, man, because I remember having a July 4th party with 150 people over and all the beverages you had to get, and everything you had to load up to have it brought over to the house, and freaking smart cups, man, and just be like, here, just have a hose outside.
Exactly. Yeah. Imagine like your mixers, your cranberry, your orange juice.
Yeah, right on. Yep.
Well, you just need a stack of cups and you're good to go. I think about travel. Early on, before I had a facility, before I would travel with a bag, and I would sit on a plane, and people were like, "What's that?" And I'd say, "Well, I've got a liter of margarita mix in here. I've got about 48 energy drinks. I've got a 500 milliliter bottle of Listerine." I've got some cocktail mixers.
It's not all together, please.
Would you ever be able to go through TSA if you had a traditional product like that?
Yeah, no joke, man. Wow.
And so for planes, you think about reducing your payload and being able to offer more. We're talking more about space exploration right now and space tourism. And, I think the stat is an astronaut in 1 month loses as much calcium as an 80-year-old does in a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
It's
just a thing with the environment?
It's the environment. It's the conditions of space, and you're not really using your muscles, and you're depleting your body of the things that you need.
Yeah.
So, we have some concepts for space exploration and space tourism. So, it's really, and
you were on a NASA funded project too, right?
When I was younger,
okay.
I worked on one. Yeah. When I was 18, I worked on one of those. So, but my mind thinks about, what are all the different applications? And the same way we print inside of a cup, we can print on a cookie, a candy bar. We can print on any surface, really. One of the applications, we partnered up with Mike Tyson and his company because I saw an opportunity to have a proof of concept and really solve the dosing issue in cannabis. I'm watching the news, 6-7 years ago on what's going on in Colorado and Washington, and seeing that, you're selling a chocolate bar as a medicine and it says 120 milligrams on the chocolate bar. But when you randomly test these bars, the variance was between 60 to 300. And so that's a huge variance.
Just like any supplement you find on the market too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you buy a bottle of Tylenol, it doesn't matter whether it's in Florida or Czechoslovakia. The dosage is a dosage. It's standardized. So I saw an opportunity to print, CBD and THC and be able to control the dosage so that there's no guessing game, so that you can provide an accurate dosage to an end user. So you don't get these guys that are sitting on the couch thinking they're having a heart attack and calling 911 and ending up in the ER. So that's a pretty exciting application because that's a booming. It's a growing segment. Let's put it that way. And
that's an understatement, I think, man.
and it's becoming, as we become more educated, as the general population becomes more educated, it's becoming less and less taboo. And with more research, people are realizing the medicinal benefits to this. And so, that's an exciting partnership that we have going on. Obviously, we don't do it here at Smart Cups, and we don't sell any products with that at this point. But, once some regulations change and some rulings change, that's something that we'll venture into.
Yeah. You're going to move into anything like branding options too? Because, we were just talking about this, but you brought up airlines, right? Or being able to carry this stuff through TSA. I can only, I'm envisioning, I was on like 80 flights even throughout the course of the pandemic. And, they stopped serving all this stuff just because personally, I think they got lazy, man. Most of it was, come on, United, I'm a freaking platinum member, and I love it because, I talked about Scotch. They're the only ones that I know of that have a single malt Scotch in their car when you're in first class. It's Glenfarclas. But I'm thinking it's like Smart Cups. Could you have like a United Airlines Smart Cup?
Absolutely. Actually, if you give me a second, I'll do a vanish and come back, kind of like a cooking show, and I'll show you some.
Do it, yeah. I love the party tricks.
Yeah. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to entertain.
Good, and I'll just sit here and look pretty while you're gone and stare at your blue brick. I like that too.
I just went to my desk and I saw like a package of sea monkeys, because every so often I'll look at something on the shelf at a store and I'll go, we can print that. And so I show up at my office with a bunch of sea monkeys, and people are like, what the hell are you doing with that? I'm like, we're going to print sea monkeys in a cup. I'll show up and I'll show up with a Carnation instant milk, Nestle Carnation instant milk. And I'll go, okay, here we are. And they're like, what are we doing with this? I'm like, we're printing milk. So, it's like, I had a retired NBA player come to my office a couple months back, and I was looking at, he has a clothing line and wanted to print on clothes just to demonstrate that we can print on any surface. And so I was going to print laundry detergent on a shirt. So when you're done, you can just dump it in and not worry about your laundry detergent, right? And he looks at me and he goes, "Can you print gold?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can print gold. I mean, but why the fuck would you print gold? And the second you walk into the rain, it's going to come off." Yeah. And he goes, "Baller status." So there was an awkward pause. I'm sitting there and I go, "You know what? It is so fucking stupid. I love it. Yep. And we're going to do it." So the next day I order some gold, a couple grams of gold, and we printed gold.
That's great.
Yeah, we made a gold smart cup, and it was it's $60 a cup, but it's gold.
Who cares? It's baller status. Who cares if it's
so this actually this is a prototype mouthwash cup. So you see, you can print on the side and on the bottoms, but early on, I played around with a bunch of designs and logos, and I guess to the next point you were going to try to get is white labeling, private labeling.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Apple Pod, anywhere, check this out on YouTube too, because you got to see these visuals. They're huge.
Yeah. So
they're awesome.
This was a prototype that I made years ago.
Oh, for Monster. Yeah. Look at that.
Yeah. And so that's the actual logo. And so you add water and that dissolves and it turns into, did one for the Cowboys. So inside, it's the actual Dallas Star, and I'm a Giants fan, so But I thought about it. And I said, these guys, they just opened up this huge stadium. What is the benefit of having a lime or a fruit already printed in the bottom of a cup for beer? And for you eliminate the need for cut fruit, shelf life, sanitation, all that good stuff. And so somebody did a calculation where it would save them, millions of dollars. So, a bunch of different, even the simplest application has benefits, even in this COVID world, you don't want to go to a bar and grab a piece of fruit off the bar top.
Yeah, for sure, man.
The bar is even open. So,
well, even medications too. I mean, you could print literal medications inside the cups, right? Mm-hmm. For people that can't swallow pills.
Yep.
That's brilliant.
Yep. And it's a bigger problem than any of us really understand or, are aware of. So, so there's a lot of applications, a lot of benefits to this. And it's pretty exciting, where this is all going to go. And it's very humbling, to be perfectly honest with you. There's not a day that goes by where I don't wake up and I go, holy shit, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure, man. Especially, I mean, we didn't really get into it much yet, but so you were first generation born from immigrants.
Yeah.
When did they come over? The 60s or 70s?
The 60s. My mom came here when she was 9 from Cuba, and my dad came here from Turkey in the 70s. And so neither one of them went to college. I didn't come, I don't even think my dad went to high school. My dad was a auto body man, and my mom stayed home and took care of me and my two brothers. We grew up, for lack of a better term, poor, in a not the nicest place in New Jersey. And, I looked around and I was blessed with a ability to, I guess, absorb abstract concepts at a very early age. And I just looked around and I said, I really don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Oh, and it's not enough that you're smart, because I know a ton of smart people. You just got to work hard. And I think that's what I got out of my parents was the work ethic. And my dad always told me, if you're honest, you tell the truth and you work hard, you're going to outperform everybody else. Those weren't his exact words, but it's the gist of it. When you get the Turkish,
the Turkish,
a bunch of curse words in there, and probably a bunch of praises to the Ottoman Empire. But but yeah, it's I grew up in a very poor community in New Jersey. We grew up I shared a bedroom with my two other brothers. And, there was one time, we were so poor at one point. I remember we had no money for food. And my mom, we had a box of spaghetti in the cupboard. And my mom, she looks at us and she goes, all right, let's get in the car. We're going to Burger King. And I'm all excited because I was this fat little kid. And I'm like, yeah, Burger King. I'm going to get myself a Whopper and some chicken nuggets. And this is going to be awesome. She pulls up to Burger King. She goes, get out and get all the ketchup packets. So I'm going, what the fuck? Yeah. I go in and I grab all the ketchup packets and I put them in my pocket and in my, my pants and my jacket. And I come into the car. And that night we had spaghetti and ketchup because we were so poor we couldn't afford tomato sauce. So I always think about that, and I always remind my kids. I go, it's you're very fortunate, but you got to think about how everybody else is living.
I get you, brother. So, my mom would save the ketchup packets, for McDonald's or whatever. There was a designated shelf in the refrigerator on the door that was just for the condiments that we got from a McDonald's or a Burger King. And I remember too, because those were always Heinz, right? And because if we bought ketchup, it was coming from like Aldi or something, and Aldi was not the same back then as what it is today either. Aldi used to be, like the I don't know. Maybe you like upgraded. They had like smart box technology or something, and just put a bunch of crap in their boxes. That's all. I still like. I refuse because of my mindset. Yeah. And Chris Rock had a joke. He goes, I keep a bag by the door because it's like I can't believe that I own all this shit. Yeah. So I always anticipate somebody just walking up and going, get the fuck out of here. Yeah. So my wife, like she'll argue with me because like I hate wasting food. If something's like a day old, I'll eat it. I go, no, don't throw it out. Like just the other day, she like threw out like this, like it was like a chunk of blue cheese that was in the fridge, and she went to go throw it out. I go, what are you doing? She goes, well, no one's eating it, and it's all. I go, no, I'll eat it right now. I'll eat it. So I took the blue cheese out of the trash and I ate the fucking blue cheese. And I go, no. I'm like, no, I'm not above this shit. Yeah, that's great, man. Dude, thank you for being on. I mean, that's a great place. I appreciate it, brother. I can't wait to see what's next for you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been awesome.
What's shaking? Thank you for joining me on the All In Podcast. Click the subscribe button and smash that bell for notifications. Text me, 312-535-8520. Follow me on social media at Mr. Rick Jordan. See you next episode. I am Rick Jordan, and I approve this message.